Welcome to the WoodSongs podcast, songs and stories of America's front porch with folk singer Michael Jonathan.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WoodSongs podcast. We're really grateful to folks like Martin Guitars that makes this podcast possible, the Department of Kentucky Tourism, my home state, celebrating the world of arts. We're coming to you from the little writer's cabin that I built in the back meadow of my log cabin outside of beautiful Lexington, Kentucky, a very rural part of the state. And this cabin was built for me to be able to create, to write songs, write books, anything I want. And that is what this podcast is all about. It's about you as a creative person, someone who loves to be an artist or someone who just loves the arts in all its disciplines. It's poets, painters, dreamers, time travelers, world wanderers, highway vagabonds, even rail riders back in the olden days. Creatives are people who give birth into reality what everyone around them claims doesn't exist. That's what a painter does. He takes a blank canvas and he creates something brand new out of it. They dream what is unseen so that everybody else can appreciate what they created. It's a very difficult lifestyle. They're like penny pinching peacemakers. Did you know that musicians and artists are part of the first global peacekeeping army in history, part of the greatest peacekeeping army in history? And we're going to explain in future podcasts how that is possible, because something's happening to these very hard-working, struggling dreamers and wandering souls. Can you imagine what it is? The creative universe has entered this very strange vortex. It's an empty, confusing digital shadow of what the market used to be. Did you know that there's not a single record store chain left in America? God bless the little moms and pops, but the record store chains are all gone. We're going to talk about that in future podcasts. Today, most artists, especially musicians, are drowning in a digital tsunami of ones and zeros. They stream their souls across the internet in a volume so full of noise that it's very unlikely most artists will even get heard. So how do you get heard? And what do you do with that box of CDs on the shelf in your garage that nobody buys CDs anymore? Is it worth even making an album? That's a big question I get asked a lot. So I hope you'll subscribe to the WoodSongs podcast. We're going to be talking about WoodSongs, of course. How was it created? The idea of volunteers. There's so many good projects that happen because artists don't have help. So how do you get people to volunteer to help you? WoodSongs is completely volunteer run. WoodSongs Kids is volunteer run. Song Farmers is volunteer run. The Troubadour Concert Series is also volunteer run. How does that happen? How do you make that work? We're going to be talking about critics and the harsh harm that unfair critics can do, ripping the soul out of any artist. I mean, it's a devastating experience if you've never been through it before. We're going to talk about social issues and things like the death penalty. Yes, not politically, but as it relates to creating things. We're going to talk about stories of artists. Did you know that there's an artist that painted a very sloppy painting, tried several times to give it away, and nobody wanted it. They hated it. They didn't like it. They didn't want to put it on their wall. They didn't even want to be associated with him because they didn't like his art. And today, that painting is insured for $1 billion with a B. There's another composer that is revered worldwide by symphony orchestras. And guess what? He was so disdained when he died that he was hurled into a pauper's grave. Not even a headstone for this guy. So we're going to be talking about some amazing stories. It's a celebration of America's front porch, Canada's front porch, Australia's front porch, Ireland's front porch, the amazing world of the front porch community that you are part of as an artist. So subscribe, hit like, and we'll see you on the first official episode of the WoodSongs podcast.
The WoodSongs podcast, songs and stories of America's front porch, is presented worldwide by Martin Guitars, the Department of Kentucky Tourism, Ear Trumpet Mics, and listeners like you. Our technical producer is Gavin Clark. I'm Gabrielle Dahlgren. Follow us online at woodsongs.com.